Megan Noblet here again. So for my vlog this week, we're talking about um, feminist pedagogy and the idea of having um, a more gender equal perspective on things. Um, Although, actually, the thing that probably resonated the most with me was when it was brought up that it's possible we could go to a more balanced um, pedagogy too quickly, and that we may want to stay feminine focused for a while. Um, so this was actually something I was a little worried about. I have a lot more freedom in my ELE class than my ELA or my math classes. Since ELE is English Language Enrichment, we don't have a set curriculum. I can support my students' language acquisition in whatever form I feel is best. So I often will choose articles to read and then to respond to in written form. This is by far what our students need the most: nonfiction reading, and then writing to more than one source. So that's pretty much what we do. And so the first thing that I chose an article on suffragists, and we read about them, and then they wrote about these different suffragists. Then we did readings about refugees, and these were to female refugees, different times, different countries, but still female. And I was feeling a little concerned because I am female, and I didn't want my male students to feel ostracized, like I didn't hear them or I didn't see them. And so I was worried that I was making it too female oriented, female based. And so currently we are now reading Shiloh, which I use as, we talk more about a little bit more not socioeconomic, I apologize, socio-emotional learning about, that what is right and wrong isn't clearly defined, as well as just a wonderful book about a dog. Everybody loves dogs. And so it is told from a boy, and while that's not particularly important, we do discuss instead that he is not always a reliable narrator, or at least we can't always trust. So we do go into perspective. But while reading this, and it did talk about how this idea that because it takes such a long time for ideas to really sink in deep to our culture, that we could be completely missing out on embedding women's perspective and women's ideas into our culture by pushing forward to a more balanced idea. And I won't even attempt to pronounce it because it's French. It was the French word. Don't do French. And that was very surprising to me because I am an elder millennial, and so we've always been kind of touted, everybody is treated equally, everyone's treated fairly, nobody gets treated better than another no matter what. And so this idea that we actually could be, in the long run, making it, not fixing what has been ignored for thousands of years. It was a very different perspective, and so I'm still not sure how I feel about that, because while I do understand that that's a possibility, I also feel like I'm not dealing with all of society. I'm dealing with 10-year-old boys, and 10-year-old boys particularly. At my school, we don't have a lot of male role models as teachers. We have 4 male teachers out of about 40. And many of our students don't have a consistent male presence or a biological male presence in their life. Um, and so in fact, usually a male presence is something that we recommend for a lot of our boys because they don't know how to handle it. So I don't, at this point, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this going on. I think, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. That does seem to be a lot of what I'm dealing with right now is sort of a wait and see mentality about how I'm going to feel next week and how more information is going to sink in. This has been hard. Not the knowledge, but how much I have to change my curriculum, how much is writing on how I teach my students. And I understand the importance of that, but I also understand that my students can't read at grade level and can't multiply themselves out of a wet paper bag. And so it becomes very stressful where I am trying desperately to make sure that they can read 100 correct words a minute and that they can answer what is a cause and effect in a text, but then also worrying about their cultural relevancy. It almost gets to be too much. It's also report card time, so it's a lot of stress right now. So I hopefully I will continue to grow. I will continue to change. I feel like I've making progress and I'm doing better. I'm we're teaching a story this week in our reading program that has to do with the creation of the United States, and I'm trying to connect it to how that drive is or that drive to make our own way is just inherent in almost everything we do. When we talked about the suffragists fighting for civil rights, fighting for voting rights, it's that idea that we can fight and against huge odds and we can win. And also kind of going on about how history is written by the winners, and the particularly the Boston Massacre wasn't that much of a massacre, but that's what it's called because we wrote the history and we want to make ourselves look good. And we talk about how, I tell them and explain to them how in war, pretty much everybody makes mistakes, and how we don't always mention the mistakes we make. And we kind of connect that to our own lives and how we don't always admit to our own mistakes. We kind of want to ignore them. And so I'm trying to work within the curriculum that I have, and stay on the pacing guide, do the benchmark tests that I have to give them the writing assignments that I have to give them, make sure that they are, reading these articles that I have to read because they're all being read by everybody in the district, not my choices. It kind of, I feel like I end up being between a rock and a hard place, between what I have to do and what I should do. And it's a no-win situation. So I guess this is why we're all becoming instructional designers, is so hopefully maybe we fix it, and the people who do teach don't have to worry about this anymore, because we'll fix it for them. And they can worry about making sure that kid can read 100 words a minute with multiculturally relevant articles, and not just about, the one viewpoint. Well, I need to make sure that this gets rendered on time, so see you all next week.